today's video, we're going to be going over what soil to use for your indoor plants or for your house plants. If you're like me, you walk into, your hardware store and you just see a plethora of options. There are so many different bags and types of soil. It can be very overwhelming. I'm someone who loves to just, be simple. And of course, this is what I have seen works best for me, and it is my opinion. But I'm going to show you exactly what kind that you should be buying for most all of your indoor houseplants and when to use some of those specialty mixes. And just as a little side note, I'm sure you guys know this, but I just want to throw it in just in case. Never try using soil from your backyard or just from outside at a park or something. It is often full of pests and bacteria that are not friendly to your houseplants, and often they have a lot of weed seeds in there. So once you start watering it, it'll grow a lot of weeds in with your plants, and we don't want that.
Alright, so this is the type of soil that I use 90% of the time. It's a little beat up. I've been using it for a while now, but it's Miracle Grow potting mix, and it is kind of just a standard potting soil. I'm sure it is at most every hardware store or nursery because it is so common. I use this stuff for a lot of my plants. I would say for most of my tropical plants, such as like a peace lily, a ficus, including like a fiddle leaf fig, a pothos, a philodendron, this is what I will be using for that, as well as in the garden too. So I'm gonna pour out a little bit into this bowl just so that we can kind of see what it's made of. You can kind of go through the parts.
So the first major component of this potting soil is peat, which is a product mined from wetlands, usually made up of dead vegetation such as tree trunks, leaves, moss, grass. It's a very fine material, but it makes a really excellent growing medium. The other parts of this soil are largely made of compost and wood products. They help with aeration and they dry out a little faster than the peat will. And then that little white sort of granule that I'm holding there is not vermiculite, perlite. Vermiculite and perlite kind of serve the same purpose. This potting mix only has perlite in it, but both of them help with aeration and bringing in some air to your roots so that they can breathe. And then lastly, there are some little light brown granules in the soil, if you look closely, and those are slow release fertilizer. That just kind of helps the soil retain nutrients for a long period of time so that you aren't having to switch it out nearly as much as you would if you didn't have those little slow release fertilizer granules.
So you can be using this mix with most every houseplant you have. I will say for things like succulents or cactuses, it is best to get a succulent soil mix, and it says that right on the bag. It'll say succulent potting mix or succulent soil mix. Those mixes have a lot more sand, which allows the water to drain out much more easily than it does in this soil. This kind of retains the water in there, whereas the sand kind of lets the water go. You want that for succulents and cactuses because their roots are pretty tender. You do not want them to be soaked in water because it can hurt them. Succulents is a big family that can include things like snake plants, jades, other types of your more common succulents that you may be familiar with. And then for cactuses, obviously most people know what a cactus looks like, but just keep that in mind. Potting mix, just normal potting mix, is great for most all houseplants. But when it comes to succulents, to cactuses that need really good drainage, go ahead and get the succulent mix. I know it's a little more pricey, but it can really pay off. It will help your plant grow well, not die on you, and that is what we want.
So just to recap, no, I don't think it's necessary to go out and buy those more expensive bags of soil. I don't think it's necessary really. You can go and make your own soil mixes. Just for me and the way I am, I prefer to just make it easier on myself and buy it from the store, and I have had no problems at all with my plants in doing that. And yeah, just using that regular potting mix has worked great. If you have cactuses or succulents, use that mix. There's also, moisture control potting mix, which holds onto moisture longer than the normal potting mix does. But I hope that's helpful. If you guys want to subscribe and learn more about houseplant care, I would so much appreciate it, and so would my family. Thank you so much for watching.